What is going on? Welcome into the show. Welcome into BP Insights. Hope you're having a good day. Um, so let's get into it. So I wanted to talk about why. So why do women not approach men as much anymore? So obviously, I mean, the main reason is they're just pretty much scared. They're waiting for masculine energy to step up. They're waiting for men. They want to see. It's more so why they don't is they're looking for a man who, if you're a man, you have the courage to go for what you want. That's ideally what their goal is. They're looking for a man to. They're kind of giving you that hint, and they're saying they're kind of they're putting the test out there. They're saying, do you have the drive to go for what you want? So that's what they're kind of doing. They're kind of just kind of dangling the bait out there. They're seeing if you'll take it. So that's basically what kind of the goal is of when you get choosing signals, indicators of interest, is the woman's kind of way of saying, do you have the ability to go for what you want? But yeah, I think that um, there's women want women obviously do want men to approach, even though I think there's times they act like they don't want them to approach. They do want them to approach. They just want them to approach when they've given them signals to approach. I think is what guys get it twisted. I think that uh, yeah, they don't. Yeah, that's the thing. They don't. Um, they want men to approach, but they want after they've given you clear, maybe not always clear, but at least some indicators of interest. So that's the thing. It's like yesterday, I'm at the gym, and this girl that had given me looks before, she'd come by me before, like when I was doing abs and on other machines, and she was right next to me. I didn't approach, but that's basically their way of giving you. It's basically a green light that you can approach when they come near you. But that's the thing. I think why a lot of guys get frustrated. I think that's why cold. If there's one main reason why cold approach is dead, I think oftentimes it's because guys approach women who have not given them any indication that they want them to come over and approach, and then they go over and approach, and the girl's kind of like, it's almost like kind of what you want or what do you want. It's almost like it's kind of like when a homeless guy approaches you. If you don't get an indicator, if she doesn't give you any signals before you approach, it's kind of almost like a homeless guy approaching you. You're kind of like, okay, what do you want? You want money? How much money do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh gosh, here we go. It's like, you ever been outside a store, like at Sam's Club or Walmart or some shit, and there's people selling stuff, about to badger you when you go in. And you're kind of like, oh, I just want to be left alone. I don't want to be bothered about that. That's kind of how they feel when you approach a woman that does not want to be approached, or that's not really giving you any indication that you can go approach. So that's kind of how that is. But yeah, the gym is real interesting because I'm thinking like, there's some girls that I remember in the summer there was a real attractive chick, and she just was not headphones in, not paying it, not making, not looking around, not, she would just look locked into her workout. I think that she was just all about the workout. She does not want to be messed with. That's one where you're just like, I mean, if she is like a nice girl, she probably could just kind of let you down easy. But that's one where you're probably just begging, or you're just kind of destined to get rejected, because she's closed off at that time, at that point in time. She's just not open. She's not open for interaction. To not open to interacting with men at that point in time. But yeah, women. I mean, I've said it before. Women should just approach men. I think it'd make the date. I think it'd make things easier, because oftentimes women will just go, if they do approach. Oftentimes it is a guy they genuinely really want. I remember there was that TikTok video of that girl approaching that one guy at in the gym, and he just kind of said she looked rough and busted. And what I think about that video is, I'm thinking that could be the girl's way of getting some karma back. I'm sure that she had probably let on some dudes, rejected some dudes, maybe flaked, did some things where, obviously she has the right to reject guys, but she probably had built up some karma of just rejecting dudes harshly. And that was probably kind of her way of getting humbled a little bit. I think that's why a lot of men like to see that, because I think it really, it was nice to see one girl humbled, because I think a lot of their egos are getting too big at times. But I think what's dangerous about the red pill space, I think it can be too tough on women. Um, I think that even though that girl in that case, that she was humbled, obviously he was a little rude, but she was humbled, and probably had that coming if she had built up some bad karma from just kind of taking dudes for granted, treating like them as like kind of just like disposable income. So, but yeah, you think that, yeah, she may have had that coming, which is too bad, but it kind of is. It is what it is. But yeah, that's the thing. You look at, she's one of those girls that typical girl that I could see having a big ego, because she was probably like she didn't look the best. She's one of those girls that probably would look better with makeup on. She looked a little rough, uh, or not. I wouldn't say rough. She looked like if she had makeup on, she probably could be a 7, 8 would probably be a stretch. I guess she was in shape. So she's probably without makeup a 6, probably with makeup on. Maybe, maybe you could give her that bump to a 7. But she's one of those girls where those are the girls 6, 7s that I talk about have the kind of the the most overinflated sense of ego, just because they can get DMs from D1 athletes, maybe some celebrities. Well, 6s, yeah, maybe, but if she's got makeup on and some of those pictures 7, she probably could get some DMs from celebrities, and that's how she really has that overinflated sense of ego. But yeah, I guess this is a little off the point, but yeah, I'll never forget that TikTok video of this girl. I forget what her name is. It's like Sahar something. She's got a big TikTok social presence on TikTok and whatnot. But I remember she made a video talking about how hookup culture affects men more so than women, or hurts, excuse me, how hookup culture hurts women more so than men. I'm thinking like, this is one of it's funny how people make a take and they really just only think of their personal experience and they don't research things. So I'm thinking like, this is a take that's so wrong because she failed to understand the facts. And she's an attractive woman. I think she actually looks like she's got a presence. I think girls like her. They say, go sis, slay, da da da. Attractive girl. I'm not here to rip on her, but I'm just thinking like, sometimes people make a take without understanding kind of the facts about things. And I'm thinking that, one guy made a comment and had the perfect rebuttal in a short, to the point comment. He said, yeah, it hurts the top 1% of guys. Joke, obviously being jokingly, because that's the thing. Most guys are not having success. That's what she fails to miss with the whole point is only about 20% of men are having success with women right now. So to say that it hurts women more, or to say that it hurts women more than men, just doesn't really make any sense, because most most men are struggling anyways. Most men are not even in play in that situation. So to say, yeah, to say jokingly it hurts the top 1%, it's maybe not as much, more 1%, maybe 20%. But yeah, girls just don't. Yeah, that's the thing. It blows my mind, how women think, or women think how many men are having success, because it just goes to, if it's the failing to really look at how things are aspect. It's it's because women, that's the thing. If you ask a woman, she's very attractive, she said she thinks 100% of men are having success with women, that is a clear indicator that women clearly only deals with a top certain percentage, because that's why they think men are having success, because the men that they deal with most likely have options. But that's the thing. Obviously, the stats show that most men do not have options. And the stats actually show that not only do most men not have options, but not most men don't don't have at least one, one option. 1 in 3 men in the last year is a virgin. The facts are there. That's the thing. Men are struggling, and women they don't feel bad. And I don't. You can't really blame them. They pick the winners. They have to go 9 months with a child, so they have the right. I made a video. They have the right to pick the winners, but also you want to kind of find a little bit of middle ground. You don't want to you don't want to aim too high where you just fail you fail to miss out to some guys that are in between that are not obviously not losers, but they're not top 1%. You gotta guys some of the guys in the middle, like the above average guys, sometimes those guys you don't want to give them their fair shake. I'm gonna plug this in real quick. But yeah, back to So why don't women approach men? Let's talk about some other reasons. Just I've touched on this before on TikTok. To women, like rejection hurts women a lot more than it hurts men. Because you got to think, like, look at all these damn beauty stores, Ulta, Target. Look at how beauty, the beauty industry is never going out of business, and because the beauty for women is absolutely crucial to them. So when a guy rejects them, it's oftentimes just because their looks aren't up to par. That's simply the main reason. It's because their looks are just not up to par, and that's a tough blow for a woman's ego if her looks are not up to par. They cannot. That's really hard to recover from that. That's the thing. Oftentimes when a man gets rejected, it's not always, but sometimes because his looks aren't up to par. But men kind of just understand that. But I think as a man, you need to always try to continue to improve your looks. Looks maxing is the main trend. I think that's why Austin Dunham talked about this too. Looks is a form of game, and I think that people think looks is like its own kind of genre, but looks is a form of game in its own right. It's not just looks isn't just its own separate entity. When it comes to dating, it's a part of game, riz, whatever slang term you want to use. Because I've talked about why looks are so important. So staying with why women don't approach men. You talk about why looks are so important because if to get obviously, if you're a better looking guy, you're going to get more indicators. You're going to get more choosing signals. They'll get you, you're going to get more green lights to approach. So that's why choosing signals is so important. Or that's why, looking good is so important because it's going to get you more opportunities in the door. It's going to give you more of those green lights to go approach that girl. When you're at the gym or you're at the bar or you're at the library, you're going to get, the green light is going to go on more oftentimes than not. But that's the thing. If you watch Fresh and Fit, you notice that like a lot of girls, when they shoot their shot, it is a lot of their shooting their shot. They talk about with guys because some of the girls, they say they shoot their shot all the time, but most of it is they're like, yeah, I shoot my shot all the time. And they're like, I'll go up to a guy and say, hey, what are you drinking? I know that happened to me at the bar. One girl approached me and she's like, I was drinking like a vodka cranberry, girly drink, I know, but she's like, I love vodka cran, just like, and I'm thinking, and you don't, because their approachers, like even when they do approach, it's so indirect like that it's just like you almost like you kind of, as a man, that there's probably some interest, but you're not really, your brain is not really registering that. You're thinking like, sometimes because you understand they approach so rarely that you don't, like, your brain doesn't comprehend that it's an approach for interest, and you think that she's just like saying that just because just bored, start conversation. But that, it turns out, obviously that was a choose it there. That was her approach, even though it was so indirect. But yeah, that's the thing. Benjamin Zeta made a point about how women approach kind of with their eyes. They like try to look and make eye contact with a guy, and if he doesn't look, or if he doesn't uh, maintain eye contact or approach them after they make the eye contact, they assume it's a no go. So I think that was kind of funny. That's a pretty accurate representation of kind of how women shoot their shot without being direct. So just how indirect women can be. So yeah, that's the thing. I was at the gym one time, and I remember I was on the bench press, and this example of how indirect they can be. I'm benching, and this girl just comes up. She starts doing some workout right in front of me, and I'm thinking because where the bench is, it's a spot where it doesn't really make sense to do some workout in front of a guy, or it's kind of like in a weird you're just in kind of like a weird spot of the gym to do a dumbbell workout. She's doing some workout. I don't even know exactly what it is. Look like something. She's like working some like a tricep workout, I guess. But just I think turns out it's just something to get my attention. I was so confused, because I'm just not. You're not used to. Obviously you're an attractive guy. You're going to get the looks, eye contact, but you're not going to get blatant choosing signals. So I was just kind of confused as to what was going on. So went to a different part of the gym. She followed me there. And then I went to another part of the gym. She followed me there. And I'm just thinking I was just so nervous because, at that point in time, I was not really back into approaching. This was, obviously farther away from COVID, but because I think COVID hurt the ability for people to approach. But I'm thinking just that was a missed opportunity. But I'm thinking just if you're going to take all those drastic steps to get my attention, you can't just say hello, or you can't just do, you can't just, say hi or something like that. You can't just say hi, ask for my number. Yeah. It's just crazy. It's crazy how indirect they can be, but that's just kind of how the game, they're waiting. I made that video, and a guy actually commented on that video on TikTok today, just said, it's the man's job to step up, which is true, but it's just kind of also goes back to, why women don't approach men why women don't approach men. They are afraid of rejection. It'll hurt their ego if their looks aren't up to par, and they're waiting. Like we touched on, they're waiting for men to step up. And they are kind of showing. They are really throwing the question out there without verbally saying it. Do you have the ability to go for what you want? So. Oh shoot! I don't think this thing. Shoot! I don't think the power's plugged. But yeah, I think. Yeah, I wish men. I don't think cold approach is completely dying. I still see some men approaching women. I see, a lot of. I see a lot of guys will make conversation with women at the gym. I don't know. It seems a lot of times it's friendly, but I do see some guys shooting their shot. I think I enjoy watching guys shoot their shot. I think part of the evil in me does kind of tend to gravitate to when the rejection happens. A lot of times that's at the bar, but I think I think it's good, because yeah, that's the thing. You see these women making these videos that they're annoyed guys aren't shooting their shot, but it's just you're taking a risk. And like I talked about this before, when you're at the gym, obviously your number one goal is to work out. So that's the thing. If you're too busy worried about approaching, then your mind, like for me, my mind, I try to tend to focus on 1-2 things at a time. Because if your brain starts to focus on the approach, looking around for signals, indicators of interest. Once your brain starts to focus on that, it starts to really take focus away from the task at hand, and that is getting a workout in. Same thing goes in public. Like if you're on the job, construct. I remember there was uh, construction workers. They tend to be, if you're not even construction workers, if you're playing football, or you're doing a job, you're doing some sort of job, and you're focused on women that are coming in, then that kind of just can steer your attention away from the task at hand. You don't. That's why it goes to abundance mentality. Having women that you're already talking to is so critical, because it can kind of help you avoid always being thirsty, always having your eyes wandering. So that's why having a rotation of women in a non scarcity abundance mindset is so important. But yeah, let's talk about some of the other indirect ways women shoot their shot. So one of my favorites is, I work at a retail store, and sometimes I'll go up to the cash register ring, and I notice if there's a girl in the store that kind of giving me a look, and then I happen to go up to the front or another part of the store, then they'll kind of follow you. My favorite is, like, if I'm on the register, they'll go in, like, there's like a checkout line with some items there. They will go by the checkout line and pretend to be looking at an item, and then I'll get glances up. And I've noticed that also women that are interested, they'll kind of like, they'll start, they'll fix their hair, they'll start just playing with their hair like this, just a clear sign that they have some sort of attraction for you. But it's funny how, a lot of women just really try to hide their thirst. Like, I've had women that really give me looks, stuff like that. And then you get them, and then I talk to them, and they kind of, they show some signs of interest, but they just don't want to come. A lot of women just really want to avoid coming across as thirsty. So when they're talking to you, they're just kind of a little bit reserved. Sometimes it's just because they're not that into you. Sometimes it's just because they didn't really like you, but they were attracted to you. But also other times it is because or because they just, they don't want to, they want it, but they don't want to come across as thirsty. So one thing I'm kind of finding, How To Beast was talking about this too. Sometimes you kind of just have to go, you have to just go for the number. When you're talking to girls, you can't just, you kind of just, you have to ask for the number. You can't just wait. But sometimes I've noticed it, sometimes there is kind of that weird timing of when you should ask for the number. Like, for example, like, sometimes you're talking to a girl that seems interested. It's kind of hard. Like, if you're just like in a flirtation, like if you're flirting, like in a, mid conversation, it's kind of hard to just immediately be like, hey, is it cool if I get your number? There's, it's kind of like it's kind of like an awkward transition. But sometimes it'll work. Like, sometimes it works if she has high interest, but she has like medium interest, then it's kind of like, she's kind of like, she thinks about it, maybe it gives you takes another look at you, and then decides not to give you the number. But yeah, it's interesting when they do, when they're thinking about it, because that's like, you see in a lot of those pickup cold approach videos, you see they'll ask for the number, and they're thinking about it. What they're doing is they're kind of like, I say 50-50 all the time. They're kind of like on the fence about whether they should give you, and they're kind of taking like one last look to make sure, because they kind of like you. They're like, let me take one last look to make sure I'm all that attracted to them. So that's basically kind of what that boils down to. But yeah, a lot of those pickup, it's interesting watching pickup videos. That one guy, Eric Rolando, he's interesting to watch. He's just a good looking guy. He just does not, I'll say this, if you really are, if your looks are on point, you're going to have a lot of interest. You're going to have, obviously, girls will turn you down, but you're just going to have interest, not only when you're out walking around in public from looks, but you're going to have interest when you do start talking to him. Like he gets a lot of, like he does the Andrew Tate approach where he asks for her name and then he waits to see if she asks what his name is. He gets a lot of that. So that just, it means there's at least some sort of interest. Because that's another tip. If you approach, you ask her name and she doesn't ask your name back, that's a huge negative, because you got to think if a girl you're talking to is genuinely interested in you, she's going to want to know your name. So if she wants to know your name, that is really big. That's a huge sign. It's a huge start. It's obviously not the end all be all, but it is a big start nonetheless. But yeah, I like watching those cold approach videos. You can tell just guys, Owen Cook used to talk about that cold approach as a skill set, meaning women as a skill set. And I agree, because you just can get better and better. The one guy talked about how, the approach anxiety goes away. I think, he talks about kind of like getting like the nervous feeling going away is kind of disappointing, because it's kind of like, it's almost like the people that are like adrenaline junkies, like live for riding roller coasters, bungee, skydiving, stuff like that. They kind of like the stress about it. That's one thing I've grown to like. You kind of like the stress and nerve of saying, sometimes, like yesterday, I just told a girl she was cute and she's just like, kind of got like a red face. And it was kind of like a really awkward, embarrassing, or it was kind of like awkward for a second, because I think she was kind of like, 50-50 girl, like I talk about. She was kind of like medium interest. So she's like, that's the thing. If you call a girl beautiful, cute, she has low interest, she thinks it's weird. If she has medium interest, she says like, oh, thank you. But if she has high interest, she just eats it up and like you even more. So that's kind of the three ways that goes, as I tend to notice. But yeah, because I said this one to the one girl at the bar, and she kind of gave me the weirdest, cringiest look. So say it to the right girl, it works like gold. Say it to a medium interest girl. If she takes it, she says thank you. She's thank you. If you say it to a low interest girl, she thinks it's weird. It's like yesterday, I'll never forget. There was this girl. These girls came in. I think they're sorority girls. Kind of had the deep voices, maybe a little bit more masculine. Not that there's always anything wrong with that, but it's just as far as attracting guys that could potentially hurt them long term. But yeah, I had this girl at the register, and I've noticed that if a girl's not interested in you, she really thinks everything you say is just, she really thinks questions you ask are weird. That's one thing I think guys get frustrated with women. If they're not interested in you, they think a lot of the things you do are just like weird and creepy. Like she was wearing a sweatshirt of like one of the local bars, had like one of the local bars in town on it. So I was like, oh, do you work there? And she said, kinda. I'm thinking like kinda, like, first of all, what the fuck does that even mean? How do you kind of work at a place? So I obviously, so that didn't make any sense. I don't know how you kind of work somewhere. But then her friends started laughing, and then she didn't say anything after kind of. So she kind of made it awkward, but it was one of those things where she like was so like, with low interest, they give so little fucks that she just didn't even care that it was just like awkward, and that she was just like, not paying attention. Her friends were laughing, I think, because, they're just like, I think they thought she had made it awkward, but I think they were laughing because, I think they thought I was trying to like engage some conversation to try to, build some interest. So I think they were kind of laughing at me, which is fine. But I think it's just kind of funny that, that's just an example of, when a girl has low interest, suddenly your questions become weird, and suddenly your flirting becomes creepy. Those are just signs that she's really just not interested. But it's okay. And I should have known, because, and this is kind of going against being hypocritical, going against my own advice. Sometimes the best game is knowing when to not keep pursuing. That's Andrew Tate talked about this too. I said this, and then he said this. Well, he had said this, I guess, years ago, but I've always kind of been a proponent of this as well. Sometimes the best game, is knowing when to bail, as he says, because sometimes the conversation's going nowhere because the girl's just, she's not interested for whatever reason. She doesn't like you. She's not attracted to you. There's just, she doesn't like, what you're saying, or all three. So Sometimes it's not going to work out. You just cut your losses. Say it was nice to meet you. Have a good night. If you're in a bar or club or for during the day, uh, if say or she's at the gym, I just say I'll let you get back to your workout. Have a good one, something like that. You just move on, and she immediately garners more respect to you because she's like this guy can actually read a social cue. That's the thing. I think that's why women. Sometimes are a little bit nervous on the approach because some guys just do not have any social awareness to read when the girl's just does not want to speak to him anymore. So that's why it's important to understand when she's not interested, that it's time to move on, and it's time to move on and and pursue a different chick. Yeah, because that's the interesting thing. Oftentimes when a girl rejects you, it's not even how to not take it personally. Well, oftentimes when a girl rejects you, it's more so not really. It's not more so to try to at a personal tack to really make you feel crappy. It's more so I'm not interested. I would not be a good long-term fit. Have some respect for yourself and move on and find a girl that will be attracted to you. Because that's the thing I've even noticed. Like if you're a good-looking guy, you'll have women that have like medium interest or older women that are married. They'll say to you like, they'll make comments like your wife someday, or they'll make comments like they'll ask you like, do you have a girlfriend? It's just kind of like that's their kind of way of saying, you're an attractive guy. I believe you're going to have success, which is a good confidence builder. Because that's the thing, like even girls you'll interact with, if you're an attractive guy, it's funny how they just assume that you're having success with women, even if you're not, because if you're an attractive guy, or like if you're attractive to them, women think a lot like the world revolves around them, and I don't mean that negatively. So if you're attractive in their eyes, then they assume that you're going to be attractive in a lot of girls' eyes. That's I talked about. Sometimes with men, they talk about having options is crucial, but I don't even think it's necessarily always about having options that's crucial. It's about making girls think you have options. There's times I've been in relationships or talking to girls, and I didn't necessarily have, maybe one or two other girls I was talking to, but they thought the way, but at those times I had things going on for me and my game was on point. They were really feeling me. They had high attraction, respect, that they assumed I had other options. So like I said, it's not always about her knowing that you have other options. It's making her think you have other options. That's the thing. It's kind of like if you're applying for a job and you don't really have a track record. Maybe this isn't the best analogy, but it's kind of like if you're applying for a job and you don't really have experience. They're saying they look for someone with experience. You have to almost make them show. You have to almost kind of like in the interview, kind of convince them that you could be a good worker without showing that you have a history of being a good worker, if that makes sense. That's kind of the thing. Sometimes with women, it's not always about. I know I've reiterated this, but it's not always about having options. It's about making her think you have options, but not. I guess not even always necessarily making her think you have. It's about making her believe you can get other women. Because that's the thing. Justin Waller hammered this home. If a girl sees you can't get other women, then what does she really need you for? Because that's the thing. It's like right now at stores, those damn Hello Kitty blankets are selling like crazy, and everyone wants them. So the demand's high. So, if the demand's high on something and they're scarce, then it makes people really want them even more. So that's the thing. Since the demand's high and they're scarce, people want them more, because if no one else wanted them, why would everyone be going crazy over them? That's why people value gold so much, because gold is a scarce resource. People value stuff that's high. People value stuff that's scarce, and that's the thing. That's why guys, when they reach top 1% level, are appreciated even more so, as opposed to just if you're a guy that's like above average or good, or say it's your guy that's 6 foot, 100K a year, decent looking. Maybe you're not all a top 1%, but you're top 10, 15%. I think why women appreciate guys that are 1% even more so, because they are just such a rare commodity. Like Tom Brady, Tiger Woods. Like, think about, if you're a girl, you could go your whole life. Obviously, social media has changed that, but if you're a girl, you could go your whole life without ever meeting a top 1% guy in person. So that's why becoming a top 1% of guy is so absolutely crucial. But yeah, dating's interesting these days. I tell you what, I remember I went last year, I went out a date, and I was thinking, like, I kind of like when I get to know a girl a little bit before the date. I just remember last year, that was the first date I went on in a while, sad to admit. And I remember just being so nervous. I'm just thinking, like, and that just shows how good a social skills and social awareness girls have. To her, it just, it seemed like communicating was so easy. It seemed like a girl, she's probably like a pretty social girl, involved in some stuff. Women they're just superior socially, but that just goes back to show, that goes back to the point I kind of want to hit on. If you're an attractive guy, you got to be on point socially all the time. And that doesn't mean you have to be Mr. Outgoing, chatty Cathy, but that means you have to have social awareness and an ability to hold conversation, an ability in a group setting to be a guy who is just as confident in himself and carries himself in a good way. Because, and other guys talk about this, if you're a guy who is very, like, especially if you're a very attractive guy, but you're off socially, the attraction is immediately going to dip. It's like they talk about why you shouldn't meet your hero, because if you put someone on a pedestal, they only can go down from there. That's kind of how it is with attractive guys, especially when you approach a woman. Because if you approach an attractive woman, say she's got high interest and you're just being a little weird socially, that attraction's immediately going to dip. But I guess the counter argument to this is that, How To Beast made the point, and I've noticed this too, that why you really, as an attractive guy, you always just want to filter for women who have high interest and women who really like you, because you're going to get some of those just based, because looks, back to the point Austin Dunham made, looks is game. So that's why you want to find those girls, because I've noticed that if you're really that attractive in her eyes and she really likes you that much, she's going to let you get away with some of she's going to let you get away with being a little bit strange socially. I've noticed being, I think years ago, especially now, I'm a little socially awkward. So I think that, well, what I've noticed is girls that have really liked me have kind of let me get away with that. Because and I think that's the case. Not every time, but sometimes. I'd say that's the case most of the time with girls that are really attracted to you. They'll let you get away with being a little socially off or being just a little strange if they do find you that attractive. But that's kind of the case with girls. Some girls are just really weird. Like there was a girl that came in, or there was a girl I was talking to yesterday, really attractive. I'm thinking, like, very attractive girl, but she's just kind of a little strange. Some girls are just a little strange, and then you kind of like, it's bad to say, but then you're kind of like, oh, I see why she's still single. Because, if you think something about a girl, probably other guys, have thought the same thing. It's like, you ever see, that's why girls, I've always said the best way, if you want to know about a girl that's early into college, talk to the guys she went to high school with, because they know, is she promiscuous? Is she strange? Is she crazy? Who does she date? What's her type of guy? Usually guys that went to high school with a girl who's in like, especially if she's college age, 19, 20, usually they have a good grasp on what that girl's like. So I've always said, if you want to get a good grasp on what 18, 19, 20, even 21-year-old girls like, ask guys that she went to high school with. Especially if she's still single, they'll probably give you a few hints of flaws that she has of why she is still single. But yeah, I think dating. So back to the topic, why don't women approach men? And it's interesting. I was listening to Benjamin Zeta, and he was talking about how he has friends, he has attractive women that he knows, and they always give oftentimes they'll give men indicators of interest. They'll give them looks, eye contact, but they don't approach. And I think why guys don't approach is I think they're really not that interested. I've noticed for me, it's kind of weird. Like there's girls that I find really attractive, but I say really attractive. I find them attractive, but I don't approach when they're giving me indicators of interest because if I'm not saying wow about her attractive, it's hard for me to kind of get the momentum and courage to want to go approach her. Like it's kind of like when you don't really want to do something, then you do it and you kind of half-ass it kind of thing. Like it's hard for me to really get like excited, enthusiastic about approaching a girl, even if she's, giving me choosing signals, giving me the green light when I'm kind of like, yeah, she's cute, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I guess I really want to approach. That's why I think what's tough. Yeah, that's the thing about being an attractive guy. You kind of get used to being, you get used to being around attractive girls, and you kind of like you're not as you're not as floored by beauty, but it can hurt you in the sense that, because you got to think as an attractive guy, and just based off of it being a numbers game, you're going to get rejected by a majority of women. But you got to understand too that if you're going for, you got to understand if you're going for women that wow you, it's not every day you're going to see a woman that wows you. So the thing is, you're only probably going to get a few opportunities in a week or in a month to approach, especially if you're in an area like if you're not in the city like Miami, LA, Toronto, where there's a bunch of beautiful women. You're not going to get a whole lot of opportunities to approach women that really wow you in real life. So that's the thing. That's why, you say you say not to lower your standards, but also like sometimes you just you're gonna have to approach cute girls as opposed to very attractive girls, because you're just not, if you're in a small town, you're just not, there is not going to be as many opportunities to approach girls that wow you. But yeah, so let's talk about the approach. Personally, what worked for me, I'd say what definitely not to do is, if you're at bars or clubs, I'd say not to do not go in with a desperate mindset. I would say, that's too many times I went in with a desperate, mindset, and girls can sense it. I think that you really want to go into the mindset of I'm gonna have a good time, and when I see an attractive girl, I'm just gonna go up to her with no hesitation. And I think, you just kind of want to. There's times to be, um, really it goes back to don't chase. If you see a very attractive girl that's your type, just go approach right away without hesitancy. And I would say approach early so you can kind of it helps you build up a flow, get into a rhythm. Um, so those two things I think are big. Approaching women that you really find attractive, so you can kind of get that passion behind approaching, and approach and talk to people early on at the bar, so you can kind of get in a social flow. So getting into a social flow and approaching women that you actually find attractive, and then when you are in the kind of the chill mode, kind of take in things. And if a girl keeps giving you eye contact or giving you looks, then you can approach her if you find her cute. So I think those are things to keep in mind if you're cold approaching in a nighttime environment. Those are definitely things to kind of keep in mind. Yeah, I wish keep reiterating. I wish men did approach women more. I think, yeah, one guy said there'd be a lot less, there are a lot more hookups. I think for sure. I think it would be interesting. I think it'd make men's job easier. But I think, to be honest, when I was really not back into cold approaching, I think some guys would probably still bomb it if girls would approach them. Because that's the thing. I think I've always said girls can read guys who have successful women. So if you don't approach, um, if you girls can read guys who don't have successful women. So like, even if they are approaching you and you're just like too nervous, then they're probably just going to reject you because they're just going to assume you don't get girls, uh, even if they do approach you. But yeah, I'm gonna grab something real quick. I think that's the thing guys get twisted. They think women don't like being approached. It's not that they don't. It's not that they don't like being approached. It's that they like being approached. They want to be approached by guys that they find very attractive. Is the thing. They don't just want to be. Andrew Tate talks about it spot on. They don't just want to be approached by a dork. Because like think about like Tristan Tate talks about how when he would approach a really attractive woman, she'd almost just like grab his arm. It'd just be so easy. Like they could almost just, once you get to that level where you're a master of approach, you can just kind of read when a girl's really interested, and you sometimes just grab your arm and you'll just start. It's a natural, flirtatious. It's a natural, easy conversation. Girls that like you make things easy on you. That's what I've always said. That's why I think that's why I talk about why I get so nervous when there's an approach. I get so nervous. Or I get so nervous asking for the number at times because I think in my mind, it's my subconscious telling me, like my heart's racing, that this girl's medium interest. She's kind of on the fence, and she most likely will reject you. I think the reason why where the anxiety comes from. I talk about how I'm a little bit more anxious around girls that I can sense like me. I think it's because if you screw up a girl that really liked you, like if you do something that really turns her off, that hurts more than, the medium interest girl. Because I think that's why I'm less fearful of asking for the number if it's a medium interest girl. Because then I knew, like, if you get rejected, then you knew she probably wasn't that interested anyway. So your soul can kind of like accept that, as opposed to, when you have a girl that, seems to like you, interested, and she rejects you, then that hurts more. So but yeah, you just kind of, to be honest, you kind of just have to make the approach. I think that, there'll be times you're gonna have days you're frustrated. You're gonna have that post depression when you don't approach. But those feelings, as much as those feelings are uncomfortable and those feelings kind of suck, those feelings are necessary to make you not do that again. Like I've noticed, like there was one day, I didn't approach and I felt depressed. But then I'm thinking like, this pain and uncomfortable feeling is going to be necessary for you to make the approach. Like, I didn't want to talk about this. I guess I didn't want to jinx it, but I guess I'll talk about this anyway. There was a girl who, so I was on the bench, I made eye contact. Well, she was on the squat rack. She came near me, and she came next to me, and I'm thinking like, it's still not ingrained in my head that girls don't do things by accident. So I'm thinking, nah, it's not a choosing signal. But then, after that, the next day I came in and I look, she makes eye contact with me, comes near me again, both times she's copying my workout. So I'm thinking like, this is not a mistake. But I didn't approach, and I'm a little disappointed. I still kind of want to approach, but I don't really want to. I'm thinking in my head like, what a jerk! Like if I do approach, is she just thinking like, oh, now he wants to, now he wants to approach me after, I gave him all these signals, but it's more so I kind of just, it's like the girl yesterday. I kind of just want to test the theory. If a girl's interested at one point, is she always interested? I think that's a sign. The girl yesterday giving me the signals after she had done it in previous days. I think that's the ultimate sign that she's genuinely all that physically attracted to me. Now, obviously, I could talk to both these girls, and they could not like me. I think that's what can be frustrating. There's girls that you see repeatedly that find you very attractive, but they don't like you. So when you see them like again in those environments, they'll still try to like look at you and get your attention because they want that. They like you. They're attracted to you enough where they want the attention and validation to kind of pump up their ego. But they don't like you enough to hang out with you. Remember, there's this one girl at the gym. She probably is the most attractive girl at the gym, and so that's why I approached her. We go back to I was wowed, I was floored by her beauty. That's why I went and approached her. But the problem was she just didn't like me. But I knew she was attracted to me because looks. She'd come by me, proximity, all the checklist of things that she finds me attractive. But just I approached her. I remember I approached her and she just gave me the number, but just left me on red. So just a clear sign that she just didn't like me, which is okay. I mean, it's fine, but that's just kind of how the game is. There's gonna be women that are attracted to you, and that's the other kind of the downside of being attractive. Or if you are a very attractive guy, I consider myself an attractive guy. I know some of you guys beg to differ, but if you're a very attractive guy, you're gonna get a lot of girls that are attracted to you. It's kind of weird. They're very attracted to you, but they just don't like you. So you'll see them out in public and they'll look at you just because they like your physical appearance and they want you to look at them too, to get the validation, but they don't like you. So they'll never want to hang out with you, and you're never going to be able to establish something long-term with them. But yeah, that's kind of like the aha of dealing with women is, I remember this girl came into my workplace and she's like, who is that guy? She's talking to my other coworkers. Like, he is so attractive. He's so hot. And then, I talked to her. She was giving me signs of interest. I get her number and turns out she didn't like me. And that's what's funny is, you go back to, I think you always want to simplify things in life. And I always would keep in mind, when I'm talking to a girl, does she find me physically attractive? Because if she finds me physically attractive, that's what's going to get me on the door to a date. That's what's going to get me, that's what's going to get you a potential chance with a hookup. But I forgot the basis of what I should have learned in kindergarten, that the main thing, for a girl to deal with you is she has to like you. Because that's the thing. She can be attracted to you, but if she doesn't like you, she's not going to hang out with you. She's not going to sleep with you. So that's the thing. Three things I've always kind of focused in on. Does she have high physical attraction for me? Can I sense she respects me? And does she likes me? If you can start with, and then I guess you could throw in number 4. Do you find her attractive? If you can those are the 4 bases of things to keep in mind. So yeah, we'll talk about the approach. We'll talk about the approach. So what are the things to keep in mind for the approach? Well, number 1, do you find her attractive? Number 2, does she meet your criteria of what you're looking for? For me, it's mostly between 19 to 25, in shape. So yeah, for me, I'm checking, am I getting indicators of interest? Does she meet my age range, 19 to 25? Is she in shape? No colored hair, no tattoos. And then from there, I got to figure out, how do I make this approach? When I make the approach, do I approach asking a comment? Do I approach, hey, excuse me, I noticed you over here? Those are kind of my main go-tos. I comment something that's going on, or I say, hey, I noticed you over here. Or sometimes I'll try to start a conversation, or sometimes I'll just be direct, just to go straight for the number. That's the thing. Going for the number is kind of like the going for, hey, I noticed you over here, is it cool if I get your number, is not bad, but it's the ultimate kind of aggression, in the sense that, it is the ultimate swing for the fence, because if she's not, that's doing that approach, you're gonna miss out on opportunities that are of women that are medium interest, because you're not gonna be able to build any sort of attraction. When that's gonna work is if you approach a girl that's got high interest and really likes you, then the aggressive approach is gonna work. But in the case of medium interest, it's usually gonna be a no-go. And of course, if she has low interest, it's definitely gonna be a no-go for straight up asking for the number. If she's got low interest and you do that, she's just going to say she's got a boyfriend. That'll be the answer probably about 95% of the time if you approach a low interest woman. But yeah, if she gives you the number, you can talk for a brief few seconds after that and just say, all right, I gotta, just make up you got to run. And then you'll text her and say, hey, it was so-and-so from here. And then ask if you want to, and then try to set up that date. So yeah, but yeah, so back to kind of keep hammering home the topic of, why don't women approach men? Um, I think that there's one guy talking in the comments about a video Austin Dunham made, and he's talking about how actually a lot of women assume really attractive guys, or at least not even always really attractive, but attractive guys just have a girlfriend. And I think that's interesting too. It's funny how, these shows talk about how men and women are very different, but I think at times men and women are similar in some rights. Like you think about, why are women at times a little intimidated to talking to an attractive guy? It's kind of the same reason men are intimidated talking to an attractive woman. And then also, like, a lot of times men assume attractive women have girlfriends. Same thing works in reverse. A lot of women think attractive guys have a girlfriend. So that's why, the same reasons men are intimidated to approach women, it's true. The opposite is true. Why women, there's reasons why women are intimidated to approach men. So yeah, interesting stuff. But yeah, a lot of women assume that a very attractive guy has a girlfriend. And I notice I always like to ask girls, I like to pick their brain, does height matter to them? Because I do tend to notice a lot of the most attractive girls I see out in public, if they are with a guy, he is a guy that is over 6'1", 6'2". Not that height is everything. I obviously see some guys that are average, a little above average height, decent looking guys with attractive girls. But, obviously being tall, being at least 6 foot, 6'1", just really does give you an opportunity. I think if height does anything, I think it just really opens the door for the eights, for getting girls that are eights. Like, I think if you're in college and if you wanted one key trait to get a girlfriend that's an 8, I think probably you would choose height. Like, if you could build a college guy with one key trait to get the most attractive girl, I think height would be number one. I think probably being jacked in shape would be number 2. But yeah, that's the thing. Darius M hit on this on one of his live streams, that like it's not even about, sometimes just getting just a cute girl is not really about being the most attractive guy. It's about being semi-attractive, like a 6 or 7 on the, I guess guys don't really do the scale as much, but it's about being attractive enough and combining that with being in shape, good hygiene, dressing well. That combination is good enough, because there's a lot of girls that's the thing. If you are, let's say, sometimes like I see average looking guy and he's like jacked and he's a decent looking guy, but y'all notice he'll still have a cute girl, fairly attractive girl, a girl that a lot of guys would on a consensus would agree with, just because he is, he's good enough. And that's the thing. I think that's why being jacked is important, because even if you are like average or short, because a lot of girls, sometimes their type just is a jacked, ripped dude. So if you're shorter, average looking guy, just getting jacked is so important, because you can just become a girl's type just with that aspect. So I think that's what's important. So yeah, really interesting, interesting stuff. I think it's a good discussion. Make sure to check me out on TikTok, guys. BP Insights on TikTok, and then make sure to keep watching. We're gonna gonna do some more live streams. We're gonna do a lot more podcasts here on this channel. Gonna have some videos coming up, so make sure to check me out on TikTok. BP Insights too, or BP Insights is the TikTok name. And with that, I'm gonna wrap with that, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to stay tuned for more episodes and clips from the show.